Is art stealing religion's role in the 21st century? A brain study revealed that the enthusiasm triggered in a technology enthusiast's brain when looking at the Apple logo activates the same areas as those activated in a religious person's brain during prayer. Incredible but true. In the 21st century, people who wait in line for hours to enter a tech store are almost like pilgrims, waiting to see a sacred relic. So, is this limited only to technology? Of course not. In a concert crowd, don't people singing together resemble those singing hymns during a ritual? Or when someone instinctively lowers their voice upon entering an art gallery and feels a silent reverence while looking at the paintings, doesn't that resemble a believer's prayer? The question is, where are people now experiencing their search for meaning and belonging? In the 21st century? Is art, sports, and popular culture stealing the role a traditional religion once had in our lives? In modern societies, the effectiveness of traditional religions and people's loyalty to religious institutions have changed significantly over the last century. While churches used to overflow on Sunday mornings, today, in many countries, the proportion of people identifying as non-religious is increasing. Indeed, many today describe themselves as spiritual but not religious, meaning they do not feel attached to dogmatic belief systems, but still believe there is a deeper meaning in the universe and seek it. For example, in the US in 1990, 20% of the society identified as not affiliated with any religion, but by the 2020s, this rate has risen above 30%. Similarly, in Europe, the rate of regular churchgoers has dropped to a minority in many countries. But these numbers do not mean that people no longer believe. Perhaps they are just directing their beliefs elsewhere. For instance, according to a recent study in England, the number of people who see themselves as belonging to no religion has surpassed those who identify as Christians. A columnist once wrote, "The new religion is no religion." Of course, what was meant here was the increase in the proportion of people identifying with no religion. The irony in this statement was that as religious belief declines, the concept of non-belief itself is almost becoming a new identity. However, believing in no religion does not mean that human spiritual needs have disappeared. It just means these needs are finding expression in different ways. When Friedrich Nietzsche declared God is dead a century and a half ago, perhaps he foresaw exactly this kind of world. When the common meaning framework provided by religion weakened, the question of what would fill the void emerged as a concern in Nietzsche's writings. Through the metaphor of the death of God, Nietzsche warned of a great danger, nihilism, the sense of a meaningless void. According to him, if people could not create new values, they would sink into the swamp of nihilism. Thus, Nietzsche assigned a special mission to art and the artist. Aesthetic sensitivity could be the antidote to existential meaninglessness. He famously said, "God is dead. God remains dead, and we have killed him." The broad masses of societies no longer seek the ultimate meaning of life in churches, mosques, or synagogues as much as they used to. However, the search for meaning has not ended. New ways are being found to satisfy this need in everyday life. Even non-religious people sometimes try to fill the spiritual void with formations like the Church for the Non-Believers. For example, the Sunday Assembly movement that emerged in England borrows elements like music, group speech, and solidarity from traditional church rituals, but offers them without religious content. Thus, the form of worship is preserved, but it is filled with secular values. Even the existence of such initiatives shows that humanity's search for collective experience and meaning finds a way to express itself. Throughout history, humankind has always chased after meaning and continues to do so. As psychologist Viktor Frankl stated, the search for meaning is one of humanity's most fundamental motivations. If this search is not satisfied through traditional religion, it will turn toward new fields. Indeed, famous psychiatrist Carl Jung, talking about the patients he treated over the years, said, "Over 30 years, I have seen many patients. All those in the second half of life fell ill because they lost what religion once provided them, and none of them truly recovered without regaining a spiritual perspective." One of Jung's book titles is also meaningful, "Modern Man in Search of a Soul." The psychiatrist believed that modern individuals experience spiritual emptiness and dissatisfaction because the needs once met by religion are no longer satisfied. People entering an art gallery instinctively fall silent. They walk slowly in front of the artworks hanging on the walls, approaching each painting with almost ceremonial respect. Doesn't this scene look familiar to you? Religious historian Mircea Eliade stated that even modern humans cannot completely escape religion, and that the longing for the sacred continues to live on in different forms. Eliade said that no matter how much man modernizes, he does not entirely lose his nature as homo religiosus, meaning he continues to need the sacred. According to Eliade, even in today's secular activities, camouflaged myths and degenerated rituals still live on. Even modern scientific curiosity, he argued, reflects a yearning for origins. As people try to uncover the secrets of nature, they are essentially searching again for a mythical story of the beginning of the universe. The meanings we assign to paintings, sculptures, or music sometimes evoke indescribable emotions. So much so that even medical literature could not ignore the deep emotional intensity experienced in front of art pieces. The famous writer Stendhal, who visited Florence in the 19th century, described how he felt his heart race and fainted under the grandeur of Renaissance art at the Basilica of Santa Croce. Based on this incident, psychiatrists coined the term Stendhal syndrome to describe symptoms like dizziness, palpitations, and hallucinations caused by excessive exposure to art. Imagine, someone can faint just by encountering paintings and sculptures. Friedrich Nietzsche highlighted the importance he attributed to art, and especially to music, with this striking phrase, "Without music, life would be a mistake." As Nietzsche pointed out, art can prevent us from being crushed under the weight of raw reality. In another saying, he hinted that we have art so that we shall not die of the truth, implying that art acts like a cushion softening the harsh blows of truth. Indeed, sometimes when we read a novel, watch a movie, or listen to a song, don't we escape the banality of daily life? As Eliade also noted, modern man experiences a kind of escape from time through books and films. Just like myths once allowed primitive man to transcend time, it would not be an exaggeration to say that today's art galleries and museums function like secular temples. Consider the Mona Lisa displayed at the Louvre in Paris. Throughout the year, people from all over the world wait in long lines just to see Leonardo da Vinci's famous painting for a few minutes. The painting is so small and the crowd so large that people almost climb over each other to catch a glimpse. Those who see it often describe it as if they have witnessed a sacred relic. Imagine the expression on the faces of visitors gathered in the crowded hall in front of the Mona Lisa. Some record the painting with their phones. Others stare in silent awe. If this scene were happening in a shrine instead of a museum, perhaps no one would find it strange. For many, seeing the Mona Lisa feels like a spiritual experience. Similarly, the great interest shown in modern art installations supports this view. For example, in Yayoi Kusama's Infinity Mirror Room exhibitions, people waited in line for hours to experience the installation. Visitors, stepping into a room of mirrors and lights, creating an illusion of infinity, could only spend about a minute inside, but many described feeling a spiritual tranquility upon leaving. The experience offered by art closely resembles the feeling of finding inner peace inside a sacred space. And it's not just visual arts. Music and literature play similar roles. In a large concert hall or outdoor festival, thousands of people sing their favorite artists' songs in unison. At that moment, the individual feels like a meaningful part of a giant whole. Doesn't this experience resemble the sense of unity felt by a congregation during a religious ceremony? Interestingly, this inherent sense of sacredness within art also shows itself in historical works. In earlier times, artistic creativity often served religion. Wall paintings inside Egyptian pyramids, stained glass windows in medieval cathedrals, Renaissance depictions of the Virgin Mary, art and religion were intertwined. But with the rise of secularization, art became a standalone source of meaning. Today, the emotion one feels when looking at a fresco of Christ in a church can also be felt when looking at a Van Gogh painting. Indeed, some artists consciously aimed for this. Famous painter Wassily Kandinsky, in his 1911 work Concerning the Spiritual in Art, argued that art, like religion, nourishes the soul. According to him, colors and forms could evoke spiritual vibrations in the human inner world, just like musical notes. Pioneers of abstract art like Piet Mondrian also aimed to reflect spiritual concepts in their works. For them, creating art was almost a form of worship. Maybe that's why today, art museums fill up on weekend mornings, just like places of worship once did. Is sports truly a new religion? This question has also attracted the attention of academics. Some even argue that the religious instinct inherent in humans has been suppressed in the modern age, and thus people unconsciously choose sports as an alternative field of fulfillment. This view, which claims that sports are a kind of secular religion, actually draws attention to some striking parallels. Indeed, there are many similarities between sports and religion. Both give individuals a sense of community and belonging. Both instill hope for the future, like the belief in the afterlife in religion, the hope for a championship next season in sports. Both have groups uninterested in them. Those indifferent to sports are like the atheists of sports. Given these similarities, comparing stadiums to the cathedrals of our age may not sound so strange. If art galleries are the new temples, then large stadiums can be thought of as the cathedrals of today. Think about a football team. Its emblem is a symbol. Its history is passed down like a legend. Chants are sung almost like hymns, and flags are waved like sacred symbols. The pre-match anthem, "You'll Never Walk Alone," sung in unison by Liverpool fans, creates such a strong feeling of unity and dedication that it can bring everyone in the stands to tears. This goes beyond being just a worldly event and resembles a spiritual experience. Fans carry the colors of their beloved teams like talismans, and match day is treated almost like a holy day. For example, when you look at the stands during a derby match, you see a sea of fans stretching as far as the eye can see. Thousands of people are lifting their scarves to the sky, chanting in unison, jumping to the same rhythm. At that moment, the stadium is such a loud and enthusiastic place that someone there might feel as if they have entered another dimension. You might even see some fans tear up with joy. Shouting in ecstasy or crying from happiness is possible in sports stands too. There are even fans who make symbolic vows for their teams. You might hear things like, "If my team wins the championship, I will feed 10 poor people," or "If we win the cup, I'll shave my head." Such statements show how devotion to sports can reach a level of sacred dedication. Many fans also have lucky rituals. Some always wear the same scarf to matches, others watch games wearing their lucky jerseys, and even the phrase "doing a totem" before a match has emerged. These behaviors carry a belief drive no different from the fertility rituals of primitive people. The fan feels part of the game by believing that their small ritual will affect their team's fate. Sometimes giant choreographies are performed in the stands. With the coordination of hundreds of people, huge banners displaying the portraits of legendary players and epic messages are revealed. This scene resembles entering a medieval cathedral and looking up at giant sacred figures painted on the ceiling. In fact, major sports clubs also adopt practices reminiscent of religious motifs while preserving their history. They display old victory trophies and legendary players' jerseys in their museums. These items are treated almost like sacred relics. When a Barcelona fan sees Maradona's number 10 jersey behind glass in the club museum, they may feel the same excitement as a pilgrim touching a spiritual relic, because that jersey represents the embodiment of the values they believe in. Besides art and sports, popular culture has also gained an enormous place in the modern human's world of meaning. Think about influencers with millions of followers on social media platforms. These influencers, by sharing everything from their morning coffee to their evening routines, rise to the position of role models and guides. Their followers buy the products they recommend, do the exercises they suggest, and even begin to think like them. Isn't there a kind of religious devotion in this relationship too? A young person who watches their favorite YouTuber's new video every morning before going to work may, perhaps unconsciously, have formed a daily ritual. Instead of starting the day with morning prayers as people once did, now they open a vlog. The brightest stars of popular culture, movie actors, pop stars, internet celebrities, are adored by large masses almost to the point of worship. For example, in the K-pop world, BTS fans call themselves ARMY and organize to protect and support the group members. The fan clubs of the famous rock and roll star Elvis Presley in the 1960s also showed a similar devotion. Every year on the anniversary of Elvis's death, thousands of fans gather in front of his home, Graceland in Memphis, holding candles and remembering him. This scene is almost like a modern ritual. Fans come together as a congregation that has lost their leader, singing songs and shedding tears. There are even new saint-like figures in the age of technology. When Apple's founder Steve Jobs passed away, fans from around the world left flowers and candles in front of Apple stores. Just like leaving offerings at the tomb of a saint, they wrote thank you notes next to their Apple-branded products. Jobs was seen by some almost as a prophet of technology, perhaps an exaggerated example of the meaning attributed to technology, but thought-provoking nonetheless. Today, people entering long lines at the crack of dawn for an Apple store opening, or tech enthusiasts waiting for hours to be the first to buy a new phone, are no longer experiencing just a shopping event, but living it as a sacred experience. The brain study we mentioned at the beginning confirms exactly this. The brain activity formed while an Apple fan views images related to their beloved brand shows a surprising similarity to the brain activity of religious people during worship. In a way, Apple stores have become modern temples for their fans, and Steve Jobs has become a legendary saint. Yes, it is also clear that all of these have their limits. Watching a great movie or supporting your team can uplift a person, but do they truly satisfy the deepest existential questions? For example, Art and fandom can provide hope and a sense of unity, but they do not answer ultimate questions like why the universe exists or what happens after death. They also do not address the most fundamental questions of the soul. Many people intuitively sense this emptiness. You can return from a concert full of excitement, but deep down you might still question the ultimate meaning of life. No film or match can fully answer that inner longing. Psychologist Carl Jung would probably say that surface-level substitutes can only go so far. If cultural idols replace God, the soul will still thirst for something beyond. Even Nietzsche was aware of this tension. His ideal of the Übermensch was an ambitious goal, but he admitted that living without faith was the hardest part. At one point, he even suggested that ordinary people might find some meaning simply by looking at the Superman, meaning he recognized how immense a challenge it was to create purpose within oneself. Think of a passionate art lover or sports fan. Even the most thrilling painting or the most magnificent championship will eventually fade. A concert ends. The echoes die away. A trophy cools down. The stadium empties. The emotional peak may be intense, but it is usually temporary. Ask a loyal fan. Years later, will the memory of that final match be enough to cope with life's disappointments? Probably not. Thus, many people continue to seek something more connection, more ultimate truth. This realization emerges naturally. If we are spiritual beings, then ultimately only something beyond this world can truly satisfy us. From a Muslim perspective, all these secular substitutes are appreciated, but ultimately found insufficient for the deepest needs of the human heart. Islam celebrates beauty, poetry, and culture. The tradition of calligraphy, architecture, and music that elevates the soul has a long history. However, Islam also teaches that these creations are reflections pointing to a higher creator. They give us beauty and emotional uplift, but they alone cannot fill the core yearning of the soul. Islamic theology says that humans are created with a fitra, a natural inclination toward recognizing and worshiping God. This means that every human heart is tuned with a longing for something transcendent. The Quran states that even the birds and the stars praise Allah in their own ways, Quran 24:41, implying that all of existence yearns to declare the Creator. Thinkers like Ibn Khaldun noted that religion has always served as the cement of society, binding people together with shared values and purpose. When religion weakens, people tend to cling to other things, nation, tribe, brands, in search of belonging. Hearts find peace only in the remembrance of Allah. Quran 13:28. In other words, only the remembrance of Allah can truly soothe and satisfy the soul. Art can offer temporary comfort, but full satisfaction can only be found by remembering the one who created us from nothing. This means that our ultimate purpose and peace lie in knowing Allah and serving Him, not in finite things. Islamic spirituality emphasizes that the deepest yearnings of the heart, justice, love, and meaning, find their true fulfillment in Allah. The Quran directly addresses this need. Only by turning to Allah and submitting to Him can true success and guidance be found. The great Muslim Sufi poet Rumi described the human heart as a guest longing to return to the beloved, Allah. He depicted worldly experiences as shadows of divine beauty. They enchant us but cannot replace the true source. In daily life, this realization may come gradually. A business leader may see that managing a company and enjoying art still leaves a void. A student may love cinema but eventually ask, who directs the grand movie of the universe? A loyal fan may appreciate the community at sports events but eventually ask, ultimately, to whom should my loyalty belong? At this point, many Muslims say that the heart remembers that Allah is the only true goal. Importantly, Islam does not deny art. There are many art forms within Islam: architecture, ornamental arts, calligraphy, illumination, miniature painting, ceramics, carpets, and weaving. And the ultimate aim of all of these is to recognize the one who created all the beauty and the universe from nothing. However, it is dangerous to make any created thing into the ultimate goal. When an artwork becomes the center of someone's world, the problem is that the soul's longing is still not satisfied. Something always seems missing until one realizes that only Allah can fill that void. From this perspective, Islam offers a kind of closure to the cycle described by Nietzsche. While Nietzsche advised individuals to create their own meaning, Islam says meaning has already been written by the Creator, and that meaning is to serve Him and live according to truth. When worldly arts give us glimpses of unity and ecstasy, Islam teaches that this unity can be lived even more deeply under divine guidance. When art fills us with awe, Islam says that awe points to the Creator of all existence. In the end, the question remains, can art, sports, or technology culture fully replace religion? They can enrich our lives, build community, and even mimic sacred rituals. Nietzsche, Jung, and Eliade help us understand that these modern realms can indeed absorb some of the old weight of religion, channeling our longings for beauty and belonging. But these worldly joys are like bright lamps. They give light, but the lamp and its light are temporary. True satisfaction comes when we recognize not just the light, but the Creator who made the lamp and all the light. Ultimately, our souls long only for Allah.